Hello YouTube land, I'm Mike Nightmare, and in this video I'm going to show you how to build a cup using 3 different hand building skills. To start out, I measured about 500 grams of clay, about half a pound. And traditionally, everyone kind of starts with a ball shape. You can choose to start with different shapes of clay depending on the kind of shape that you want your cup to be. So it's good to think beforehand, what shape do I want in my end result? That's kind of the shape. Do you want more squared? Do you want it to be wider at the top than the bottom and kind of more of a cone shape? Do you want it more bowl shaped? So you have a lot of options there. Once you have a shape you like, then you're going to want to start pinching. Couple things to think about. If I pinch on a hard flat surface like this banding wheel and I start to pinch and squeeze the clay, it's going to give a flat bottom to the cup. If you don't want that, you want to kind of cup your hand and then hold it in your hand as you're pinching, and that will start to give you or keep kind of a rounded bottom, depending on if it's already rounded or not. One's not more correct or right than the other. I would just maybe, if you're starting out, recommend making both, and then you can see what you like. So it just is a personal preference, really. When you're pinching, pinch just a little bit of clay at a time. You're not wanting to pinch and move a lot of clay because that will cause the clay to stretch a lot more and more quickly, and that will then cause surface cracks to start. If you get surface cracks, what you want to do is just spray some water, get a tool or your finger and rub where the cracks are starting to show. Spray a little more water, and then let that sit. And when it's not shiny anymore, then you can continue pinching. You want it to absorb all that water into the body. Otherwise, if it just is wet on the outside and you start pinching in, all of your cracks will start to come back. Right, so we just pinch slowly. And 2 things to think about. If you pinch and move your fingers up as you're pinching, you will give the clay height. And if you want to make it wider, you just kind of pinch and push outwards, and that will make your body of the cup go wider. And so you want to pinch this. I always tell students when I teach this that you want to pinch it to the thickness about your index finger. I go a little bit thinner than that, a little bit thicker. It's going to take longer to dry, and if you don't let it dry long enough, you risk things breaking because there'll be more moisture in the clay. All right, so we'll just continue to slowly pinch this out. Now that all the pinching is done, I like to then use the second hand building technique we're going to talk about, which are coils, which are long rope-like pieces of clay. You can use an extruder, or you can roll these out. So if you're rolling them by hand, you want to just kind of roll them, and you're just starting with your fingers closed and opening them up as you roll. And you want to try to keep the pressure down on them even. And you can roll out. If it gets thinner in some areas, you just kind of roll the thicker areas. I find too, if it starts to crack, a little pro tip, I just spray my surface really lightly, and then I can continue rolling. Right, so once I get it to the right thickness, cut the end off just because. And then we can continue to add some shaping with some coils. And so again, you have options here. You can add as many coils as you want. If you want to do just a little bit of shaping, I usually have my students add 2 or 3 coils. And you can either put them just straight up, and then that will cause it to have more height. If I want to shape this a little bit more, if I put the coil slightly on that outer edge, that'll make it go wider. If I want to start to bring this in a little bit, you just put it a little bit on the inner edge, and then that'll make it go inwards. You'll want to get some type of scoring tool. You'll score all around the edge lip part of your cup, and then also the coil. And then you can get slip and add some slip. My lazy method is just spray some water and spray it really well. Depending on your experience level, with students I always have them score and slip just as an extra insurance policy. If you are experienced working with clay and you actually work with clay soft enough, you can get away without scoring and slipping, and that will still attach and hold itself if you blend everything in correctly. So let's add a couple layers to continue with shaping and giving our pot a little bit of character. And then you blend this in to the cup. Once you have 2 or 3 coils on there, you could pinch this to shape it further if you want to refine it a little bit more. Now we need to make sure that the clay is leather hard, and we're going to be using a slab, which is just a thin rolled out piece of clay, and that's going to become the foot ring on our cup. And so I need to be able to work upside down, so I make sure we don't want to work with this being too wet. We want it leather hard to where it will support us working on our foot ring. And your foot ring can be as tall or as thin as you'd like. I think this, for the size and proportion of the body, that this is a pretty good thickness, so I'm going to use all of this. And you can just test out what size do you want it to be, right? Do you want it to sit further down? Do you want it up high? So again, lots of options, and you just have to decide what you personally like. You want the clay to be leather hard where you can bend it, it's going to hold its shape, and it's not going to flop down. So I think I like it here, looks pretty good, a little bit lower. And then I cut where it overlaps at a 45-degree angle. That will help it to attach better. And then I'm going to cut it here as well with a angle cutter at 45 degrees, and that's going to help it to sit on here a little bit nicer. So I'll just do another dry run. Again, we need to score all this, score, slip, and blend it all in to attach it. So that will be our next step. You can also just take like a needle tool, and if you're on a bending wheel, just kind of spin that around, and you can mark where that's going to sit on your cup, and then you'll know where you need to mark it for scoring. So you want to score nice and deep marks. Don't be afraid to get in there and make some messy marks on your clay. It will help everything to stick together. Again, if I don't have slip handy, I will just spray some water, get it nice and wet, and just kind of rescore, make it real messy on there. That'll just kind of create a slip on the body. And then everything you can just blend down into the body of the mug. If you don't have a lot of tools, I mean, this can be done even just with some popsicle sticks. The clay, get it wet, you can just That's why I love working on these banding wheels. You can just spin things. I can recompress that edge with my finger, and it makes it really simple to smooth that out. Right. So that puts everything together. So we have the main body being pinched, some coils added for height, and a foot ring. The next step is going to be to clean this up, and we're going to use a couple tools for that. So now's the time to start thinking about surface decoration. Do you want this to be really smooth? Are you going to add textures with it? You could use ribs, and you can start to go in with the real soft one first and just start to smooth out that surface if that's what you're looking for, and then go with one that's a little bit more stiffer, and that will smooth it out even further. If you want this to be rough, you can add textures with tools. So I think in another video I'll go over some surface techniques. I'll make a few of these, and then that way you can see some options if you need help with trying to think how to decorate these. So there it is. That is one cup done. Hey, thanks for watching this hand building video. I hope you learned something and enjoyed watching it. Make sure to leave some comments below, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and don't forget to smash that like button. See you next time. You made it to the end. Here's a quick tip for you to even out your cup rim. Spin your banding wheel with some speed and slowly bring a knife or needle tool through the lowest point of the rim. Keep your arms tucked into your body to steady them. When you feel the tool touch your inside finger, lift up quickly and your rim should be even.